All right, so if you are using Inventor, the first step is downloading these files from the Classroom post. And so you can click each one and then go to the download symbol in the top right. And I'm on a Windows computer, so this looks a little bit different than if you're on your Chromebook. But on your Chromebook, you can actually go through here and pick where to put your files in your Google Drive. So instead of just going to your Downloads folder, you could navigate and put them into your CAD Google Drive folder, which is going to be important later when we're trying to open them up in Inventor. So once we are in Inventor, we can go to Open, and then this is linked to our Google Drive. And so here I'm in my CAD folder in my chess folder, and notice that I downloaded all three files, the chessboard, the square, and the tray. And so I'm going to open the chessboard, and it should look like this. If it says that there's dependencies that it doesn't know, like for example, the tray, which is this outside piece, or the squares, which are the inside pieces, the tiles, then what you can do is it'll give you another open menu and you can keep going back to that same folder and saying, this is the square, this is the tray. So once we have our board loaded, then we can start to add our pieces to it. So now to put the first piece in, we're going to press the place button in the top left, and then find the part in our CAD folder. So if you put it in the same place that you saved the chessboard, it'll be easy to find. Otherwise, you can just navigate through this menu to find your CAD folder and wherever you saved your chess pieces. So I'm going to import the pawn first. And here you can place multiple copies of it. So especially for a pawn, which we have 16 on the board, you might want to place multiple. I'm just going to start with 4, and I'm going to press escape so I don't get my workspace too crowded. Next, what we're going to do is use the joint tool. The joint tool is going to be very useful here since the center of the piece is going to go in the center of one of these tiles. We'll be using other tools when we need like a more specific position when we're assembling things in the future, where we can constrain it. A joint also has multiple types that we can use, so that we can have objects that rotate and things like that. But for today, we can just use the default. So I'm going to change my view so I can see the bottom of the pawn. I'm going to click right in the center of the pawn. I'm going to change my view to go back to the top. And I'm going to click the center of a tile in the second row. And so here, it's going to move the pawn over and rotate it. I can press OK, and now the pawn is attached to my board. Once it's on the board here, we can consider selecting it and then choosing a different material. So I'll go to the glossy black material. There's lots of different appearances in this appearance menu. Next, I'm going to show you how to place a piece that has a specific orientation. So I'm going to place a knight because the knight has a front and a back. You can place the knight kind of on the board, but you can see here that because you're moving your cursor in a two-dimensional plane and it's a three-dimensional space, your knight might be like under the chessboard or above it. And so to make it easier to see the bottom, I just put them out off to the side. So I'll put 2 for this side. We'll use the same tool. And notice that we're going to click the part first and not the board first. If we click the tile on the board and then the part, it's going to, you notice there, it's going to actually move the tile from the board up to our piece. And so we want to make sure that the piece is the first thing that we click so that it moves that down to the board. So again, bottom of the knight. And now if we take a close look, we can see that there's an arrow with this joint icon. And so we want to make sure that that we're paying attention to that as we place it on the board. So you can see here that the arrow is actually pointing to the left side of the knight, and so our knight looks positioned incorrectly. It's not facing forward. And so what we can do is we can actually use this second alignment tool, and that will allow us to start to spin the knight. So instead of just clicking in a random spot where you might have like a slight tilt, we're going to try to hover over a specific edge or face and get the knight to align. So here, if I click on this face, that will there we go. That'll change the orientation of the knight, and then I can click OK, and it'll place the knight there. Again, a select, and then going through this menu of different appearances and materials can make it look a little bit better than just the default gray. So after you place all of your pieces, then what you can do is I would go to a home view, and then you can export as an image file. Any of the images files are fine, and then save it as an IAM, which is an assembly file. It'll just be called chessboard because that was the default, and then you can upload both those files to Classroom.